Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. The United States has spoken about Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's arrest. On the 26th of March, a US State Department spokesperson said the US encouraged a fair, transparent and timely legal process for Chief Minister Kejriwal. On the 27th of March, a day later, the US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said it was continuing to follow these actions closely, including the arrest of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. A spokesperson said they were aware of the Congress party's allegations that tax authorities have frozen some of the Congress party's bank accounts in a manner it would make it challenging to effectively campaign in the upcoming elections. Now let's take a look at what the United States said when Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested on corruption charges 10 months ago. On the 7th of August, Matthew Miller, the US State Department spokesperson, said, "We believe that it is an internal matter for Pakistan. At times there are cases around the world that are so obviously unfounded that the United States believes it should say something about the matter." So that's what the US said about Imran Khan's arrest last year, and this is what they just said about Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's arrest just a few days ago. Why these double standards for the United States, for India and for Pakistan? And I'm joined today to discuss this by Ashok Sajjanhar, Ambassador and former Indian Diplomat, and my friend Pramit Pal Chaudhuri and my colleague Justin Thomas in the studio. Ambassador Sajjanhar, first the US and now Germany. Why is the West taking such a keen interest in India's internal affairs?
Yeah, it is election time, it's election season, so I think that being interested in what is happening in India as far as the elections are concerned, I can understand.
Yes.
But, different countries have interest in other countries, meaning India is interested in what's happening in the United States,
Right.
in the US elections. Frankly, that is what our embassies there are for.
Yes.
To look at what the situation is and try to strengthen relations between the two countries, try
Yes.
to explain to the headquarters as to what is
Right.
happening.
Right.
And what I feel is that either US embassy has failed miserably in its duty to
Right.
convey to its, to the parent authorities in the United States, the State Department,
Yes.
as to what exactly is the situation. That there
Right.
were 9 summons that were issued to Kejriwal.
Right. Right.
He was required by
Yes.
law to present himself.
Right.
And even people like, the Chief Minister, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, had presented himself for long interrogations, etc.
Yes.
So this was, they should have informed them. It's not something happening out of the blue,
Right.
that, you have just an arrest for no rhyme or reason, etc. that is appearing.
Right.
And so I think it is totally unwarranted, totally uncalled for what it
Right.
has been mentioned. And I'm glad what the Ministry of External Affairs has spoken about it. Also on the Congress issue, meaning this is an internal matter
Right.
between two political parties.
Right.
Meaning if you are talking about what is the stand of the Congress party as to that their funds have been frozen,
Yes.
then I think we are also duty bound to give the point of view of the authorities.
Right.
And what the other political parties have said, the BJP has said, and what the income tax authorities have said, that there are certain rules and whatever is being done is exactly as per the rules.
Right.
And they should, India is, we see from the highest echelons of power authority in the United States, that they always speak about India as a strong democracy, it's a robust
Yes.
democracy, and it works very well. So why can't this issue also be mentioned in the same way? The last point that I want to make very briefly is, again, what you mentioned about Pakistan. And,
Yes.
that is hypocrisy of the highest extent. And even if I may also add,
Yes.
on the recent elections, when it was very clear
Yes.
that, the army had been trying to control it and to make the decision go in a particular way. Still, the Foreign Office spokesperson, State Department spokesperson, He mentioned that it is a very competitive election that has taken place. Giving a full clean sheet of the manner in which things have evolved. Of course, it came as, it was mud on their face when there were so many allegations that the police and all the others were pressurizing that in a certain manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ambassador Sajjanhar. Important points you've raised there. And, Pramit, is there some kind of transmission and distribution loss between New Delhi and Washington when it comes to conveying, what's going on here with the Indian political scene, as Ambassador Sajjanhar mentioned? I meant the US Embassy and Foggy Bottom.
Could be. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We don't have the information, I think, on that front. I think what I would say, and I would speculate here, you'll notice that both the German and the American governments are effectively center-left governments, right? And the center-left in the West overall, particularly the left, really more than any group, has been genuinely and has been consistently hostile to Prime Minister Modi.
Right.
And taken up this narrative of democratic backsliding.
Yes.
And Modi being autocratic leader or electoral autocracy and so on.
Right.
There has been a tendency for governments of that ilk, even if the prime minister or the chancellor himself may have a different point of view, to cater to that group. Normally with these kind of sort of throwaway rhetorical statements, we are concerned about this. We hope the government of India will behave in a certain fashion. They've never done anything beyond that. They've just done these throwaway, which are irritating. They don't affect the larger scope of the relationship, especially definitely the one between India and the United States. But they seem to be an attempt to appease the left arm or left wing of their own governments, or sometimes human rights groups and departments,
signaling to their electorate
that we are watching this India, and it's irritating, and it's somewhat pointless, and it's also a bit silly, especially from the United States, given the somewhat fractured nature of their own democracy now. It's almost a joke now for anybody in the United States to give a lecture to a country which actually runs, in many ways, I would argue, a freer and fair election now than the United States does.
Absolutely.
There's gerrymandering here. The voting is as clean as possible with electronic voting machines.
Yes.
We have an electoral commission that runs it, rather than the strange structures that exist in the American states.
Right.
You could go on and on. So yes, it's a thing, but I think it is a throwaway statement, especially on the Americans, and it reflects a need within their systems.
Yes.
And both Chancellor Scholz and Biden, you may note, are not in great political shape at home. They need to keep the left happy because they need their votes one way or the other. I mean, Scholz has a very good chance of having to run he has a European Parliament election that he's probably not well in. And if he does badly in that, there's a very good chance his government would fall anyway, in which case you'd have to go for elections again sometime by the end of this year.
Yeah, very important points there, Pramit. And Justin, this is, as Pramit said, the two governments, signaling to their constituencies in the Germany and in the United States. But Donald Trump has been under all kinds of cases. I mean, it's literally a landslide of legal issues against him. And but I think India has been kind of circumspect when it comes to commenting on Donald Trump's court cases. And just the point that Pramit made, I mean, the fact that we don't have the kind of fractured polity that the United States hasn't at present, given the fact that the Republicans say that, look, there's a conspiracy to keep Trump out of the elections. How do you see this contrast, the fact that the US seems to be in a greater political turmoil today than India is at present?
I think India, in both letter and in spirit, believes in non-intervention in other policies, rather than the US, which is very clearly because Trump, the cases against Trump, how the left has turned on completely against Trump, it's a clear indication that India had its opportunity to make it, just pass those comments, just to play to the gallery that we have out here, which is equally strong and, supportive of the current government. But India played that role of ensuring that, it doesn't get into the path which others, we also expect the other countries to follow that. So at the same time, what we see in the US right now, it's very fractured, it's very clear cut that Trump has, except the legal hurdles, if there are no legal hurdles, Biden is in trouble. So Biden is ensuring, while preaching to the world, is ensuring that, that the Trump doesn't come up. And also, which I agree with Pramit, where he says that, be it Obama administration, be it Bill Clinton administration, the Democratic Party, whenever they are in power, have ensured play to their gallery in full view. Contrast with the Trump administration, which was very much in sync with Modi government, ensured that we all stayed within our rights, but at the same time developed the friendship. So I guess India is comes out as a senior statesman in this issue.
India coming out as a senior statesman in this issue, a little more mature, not commenting on other countries' internal affairs. But the interesting part, Ambassador Sajjanhar, is the fact that the MEA, in a span of less than a week, has called diplomats from both Germany and US and basically communicated our displeasure at those statements. But do you see this as unusual in the sense that New Delhi in the past wouldn't have done these kind of things? Is this a sense of greater confidence in the MEA, or is it the Jaishankar doctrine at play?
I think definitely, this needed to be done, because otherwise, if it was not done, then there might be some of the other countries who might also sort of start getting ideas and coming out with statements like this. So these statements are of course meant not only for these countries but to the world in general, and also to these countries so that in future, when there are when they feel encouraged to say something like this, they are aware as to how India had reacted. So definitely this was required. India definitely is a much more confident country today than it has been there. But I think we have really responded to such statements, meaning not only from the United States. If you look at what OIC has been doing against, on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, I remember, whenever this Commission on Foreign Religious Rights, etc., in the United States, international religious freedom, they come up with some reports. India sort of, slams those reports, etc. So India has been doing that, and India needs to continue to do that. Although I find that the numbers, maybe because India is much more important today, much more significant today, economically, politically, strategically, in every sense of the word, I see that the numbers of such statements, in my view, we'll have to do some sort of a study, but I see, numbers are lesser today than they have been in the past. But as I said, they need to be, some people might think that we shouldn't pay any attention to them and all that sort of things. But I don't subscribe to that view. I think that this is something that we need to be very clear, and we need to push back as we have done. I think both India and the United States, India and Germany, they have so much to do together, so much to work together. And it is futile to be wasting time, to be using up diplomatic space and political space between the two countries, and wasting energy and effort in dealing with such issues rather than focusing on more substantial and substantive matters like whether it is defense or politics or security or technology or energy, green energy, etc. There's so many things that we need to work together, education, healthcare, so many things. So rather than expending our time on these aspects, I think that is where we need to focus our
Absolutely. Focus on the positives. Yes, yeah. And Pramit, do you see this relationship continuing as, friends with disagreements, that we will have a lot of areas in common with the West, especially the United States and Germany, but we will also have our disagreements, and where we feel we strongly disagree with the line of the U.S. State Department, whatever they say, this relationship is absolutely on an even keel and there's no turning back. We will continue to have differences. Is that your assessment as well?
Yes, I think we will have friends with disagreements, especially with the United States. We have a relationship, a strategic relationship built around China, technology, and at least with the Biden administration on climate, which is rock solid. Arguably, we haven't had a relationship as strong as this since maybe the Nehru-Kennedy years.
Right.
And yes, they will continue to be concerns on their side of what they think is democratic backsliding.
Right.
And India will basically push back and ignore them because ultimately, Modi will probably come back with a reasonably large mandate again and say, you may have a problem, but nobody in India seems to care. And after that, they'll sort of move on. And of course, they will have a particularly fractious election coming up. So I think, and I think India understands this, that there will be some countries that we will have rhetorical differences with, but the strategic relationship is fine.
Right.
But keep in, for example, two countries that have also given us lip, if you wish, about something more serious, which was Kashmir, Malaysia under Mahathir, and Azerbaijan and Turkey, both of whom criticized our Kashmir situation, but with whom we have no strategic relationship. So in the case of Malaysia, India effectively banned Malaysian palm oil imports for a few months. And that is one of the single largest sources of employment in Malaysia. And Mahathir backed down after a while. He just said, I can't make any comments because there is a strong reaction from other countries. And in the case of Azerbaijan, who got into their head for some reason that they could form an alliance with Turkey, Pakistan, and themselves and attack India on things like Kashmir, India has been arming their biggest arch rival, which is Armenia. So with air defense systems and so on, we've been sending to them. We have a strategic military relationship with Greece. Turkey is great enemy with Cyprus. And there we've seen India take genuinely hard, tangible action against those governments on policies and in statements that we consider unacceptable.
Right, absolutely. And Justin, the new assertive foreign policy there, Pramit gave us such a wide sweep of the kind of choices that we've been making, arming Armenia while our Azerbaijan continues to rail against us. You see the new Jaishankar doctrine at work, or is it just the Modi doctrine?
I think it has been very clear for the past couple of years that in the MEA side, Jaishankar has clearly, molded it in a further way, which was, going from the Modi doctrine that we've been seeing. So that in itself suggests that, that Modi trust. So, but let's not forget that, it's absolutely controlled, run by PMO. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he has the confidence in Jaishankar to run MEA, and how he has responded maybe on debate stages or in negotiating tables. He has ensured that India makes it clear that we are here to stay.
The India first approach.
Exactly. India first approach has been clearly been offered. So I guess the big picture has been given by Modi, but the detail is being worked out by Jaishankar and his team.
Absolutely. The big picture by Prime Minister Modi, the detailing by Foreign Minister Jaishankar. Hypocrite America, yes indeed, but as Pramit Pal mentioned, that this could just be friends with disagreements. The strategic relationship between India and the United States, and particularly the West, is too deep to ignore. This will continue even as the US heads into a very, very contentious election year. Prime Minister Modi may have it easy in the elections, but that's not what we could say about President Biden. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Ambassador Sajjanhar, my friend Pramit Pal, and my colleague Justin Thomas. It has already changed storytelling as we know it. Now, the biggest question on the minds of publishers, authors, poets, and readers these days is, will ChatGPT kill authors? Now, joining me on this discussion are Shivapriya, publisher Bloomsbury India, and my colleague Ashish Sharma. Shivapriya, I want to start by asking you, AI is writing stories, composing sonnets. Where do writers go after this? Are machines going to take over?
Not yet, I think, Sandeep. We have some time before that happens.
Right.
You'd mentioned whether we should be worried,
right,
writers and poets and publishers. I think we should be. only in the sense of I think we need to be alert
Yes.
and agile and figure out how we're going to deal with this.
Right.
But I don't think we need to be afraid. Also because I'm a bit of a techno-fatalist.
Right.
It's here. So
Yes.
we've got to learn how to deal with it, right? Yeah.
Right. It's here, learn to live with it, deal with it. Ashish, you were at Jaipur Lit Fest a few weeks ago. What was the mood there? You spoke to a wide cross-section of writers. I'm deeply envious of your stay there at Jaipur. But tell us what the sense was you got from the publishing world, the writers and the authors that you
Sandeep,
spoke
the
to.
fact that they had sessions on how it's going to impact the future of publishing.
Right.
That displays it's not a technophobe. The industry is aware of the challenges.
Yes.
Now, recently after JLF, you had writers like Margaret Atwood, Nora Roberts.
Yeah.
They're signing petitions.
Right.
Which are saying AI authors against AI.
Yes.
So there's concern. There is concern, valid concern, but the general consensus is that they still can't do long form writing.
Right.
They still can't write literary fiction.
Right.
And they can't still do quality poetry.
Right. Right.
The humans still have a niche there.
Humans still have a niche there. Shivapriya, what are your authors saying to you? When is this a topic that comes up frequently in your discussions with them?
Strangely enough, I haven't had any conversations with writers about this.
Right.
Bloomsbury itself now, since February, has a AI policy.
Right.
One of the things that we cannot do is anyone from within Bloomsbury cannot use AI to generate any kind of content.
Right.
And we cannot really put up any of our manuscripts or any other kind of material that would be considered copyright or belonging to Bloomsbury up on any kind of AI. This is one way of companies learning to protect themselves and the material and the producers of these material.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's another point that you raised as well, Ashish. The companies are firewalling their content, their precious content from these AI search engines, these large language models. The New York Times has sued Microsoft, right, over the AI, the use of their content for training AI. But tell us about what one of the award-winning authors told you about. I mean, tongue-in-cheek, of course.
Right. So, Shomnath Bhattabayal, who teaches at SOAS London, he jokingly said that if the bots do take over, he'll look at alternative professions and he may become a carpenter.
Right, right.
But not everybody is as alarmed as Shom.
Yes.
So what they're saying is, there's still a gray area.
Yes.
I spoke to also an IP lawyer, Mr. Anand, who happens to be an author as well.
Right.
So still we don't know whom does the copyright belong to.
Right.
So if an author writes a book, the copyright belongs to the author still.
Right.
But if a machine writes a book, whom do you sue? That's still a gray area which is being worked upon. And like Sandeep, the word authority has author hidden in it.
Yes.
So where does the authority of the author end and the machinations of the machine begin?
Right.
That's the question.
Right. Sripriya, this point that you raised about firewalling your content from AI, large language models, as these LLMs kind of increase in sophistication, and that's happening in leaps and bounds. In 18 months, they're just starting to generate, documentary films. They're threatening our careers here, Ashish. But do you see that, getting far more intensified, this need to protect your original content from, these large language models, so that, you're not training, you're not getting companies to train, your content on their search engines, their large language models?
So, Sandeep, I think right now that's the policy.
Right.
Already, I think a lot of AI has been trained on material that had been available. They've just taken it for granted that they could train their AIs on material that's available for any reader and on the internet. But now I think publishing houses, I can speak for them, are learning to stop that from happening. But I don't know whether it's a long-term solution or if it's going to be possible long-term. Could be something like, the AI companies could enter into agreements with publishers to be able to use books and material. So one doesn't know what's going to happen, at least for now and the immediate future. I think we're not going to be putting up material on any kind of AI tools. Yeah.
Right. And do you see a point when AI would actually start writing novels? Has that happened, Ashish? Have we come to that tipping point yet?
Not yet, Sandeep. One of the experts, who's also a mathematician from the UK, told us that as of now, it's being used for short form content.
Yes.
So stories or long form fiction is something AI is not yet good at. But it might just evolve, and the publishing industry might change their tack, because for long we've had people who've been doing ghostwriting for people who cannot write on their own, but they have good stories to tell.
Right.
So in a way, one of the publishers, Meru, who works with AI, she told us that this is a democratizing medium.
Right.
So with a country like India, with the multilingual legacy we have so many people who might not be great at English, but they may have fantastic stories to tell. So if AI can enable them to tell their stories using the science and in a language which publishing understands, that might be a middle way where they can coexist.
Right. Coexisting with AI, Sivapriya, interesting point there. You mentioned this as well, right? I mean, how do you do it in Bloomsbury? Do you also, do you use AI for, say, doing some basic research, as some of the authors that you interviewed, Ashish, mentioned?
Not employees of Bloomsbury. No, we don't do that. And we are not, there's a very clear proviso that we are not supposed to do it. Use it in any way that compromises the company or compromises the rights of our authors. So that we're not allowed to do for sure. Meru's vision of this is very optimistic, right? In the sense of it democratizing. I think there have, in fact, been novels written by AI. Also, I think AI's, apparently there are lots of ebooks on Amazon that you can find that are summaries, all of those kind of things. I personally can see them, see AI generated genre fiction, maybe romance, science fiction, but not a particularly imaginative, novels. Literary fiction itself, I can't see that happening, not for now, in the sense of they're not going to write, they're not going to take over human intelligence, right? It's artificial intelligence, which is its own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, it's its own thing. And in fact, this question that can AI replace, human creativity with AI software writing stories and composing sonnets? Can ChatGPT kill authors, for instance? That debate will continue. But thanks for joining us this evening, Sivapriya, my colleague Ashish. That is a story that we'll be watching very closely. But before we go, do watch excerpts from our exclusive story, Will AI Kill Authors?
जागते जीते हुए दूधिया कोहरे से लिपट कर सांस लेते हुए उस कोहरे को महसूस किया है? रूह देखी है कभी? रूह को महसूस किया है?
Year after year, the Jaipur Literature Festival attracts the world's finest exponents of the art of writing and publishing. "2024 wasn't any different. From highbrow Booker Prize winners to bestsellers who rule people's hearts, popular poets to acclaimed historians, they converged at Clark's Amer for the Mahakumbh of literature."
When your mother tells you that haldi doodh is very good, what do most of us say? Kya haldi doodh, right? But when a coffee bar in the West will tell you turmeric latte, and sell it to you for £8, you'll say, wow, this must be good.
As thousands in the audience cheered them, the chatter at Jaipur often centered on a question that has the literary world abuzz. Can artificial intelligence replace creativity? With AI software writing stories and composing sonnets, where do storytellers and poets go? Can ChatGPT kill authors?
I don't think that ChatGPT is the slightest threat to stylish writing.
Many of these technologies give human beings the power of God. Are we ready to be God?
You can't get away from the humanity in the artificial. It's not that artificial after all.
A computer program has no mind to speak of. The element of human personality is missing.
At this point, I have no fear of being overtaken by AI in writing creative fiction. That it cannot do at the moment. In 2 years' time, perhaps, I'll become a carpenter, maybe.